In November of 1912, an aging writer lost his wife. He was not expecting her to die, but then he had not been taking much notice of her for some time. They had run out of conversation. He was in love with another woman, and she had withdrawn from him, choosing to sleep alone in a small room in the attic. She had just reached her 72nd birthday. There had been no celebrations. She had seemed unwell. The doctor had seen her, but she had refused to allow him to examine her. At about 8 in the morning, on the 27th of November, her young maid, Dolly, went to her as usual and found her moaning and terribly ill. She did not ask for the doctor, but she did ask Dolly to fetch her husband. Dolly ran down to the master in his study. He told her to straighten her collar. Then he climbed the narrow stairs to his wife's room. He spoke her name. "Em? Em, don't you know me?" But she was already unconscious, and within minutes she had stopped breathing. Emma Hardy was dead. This is the moment when Thomas Hardy became a great poet. He was acknowledged as a great novelist, and he had written many fine poems, but it was the death of Emma that proved to be his inspiration. Filled with sorrow and remorse for their estrangement, he had her body brought down and placed in the coffin at the foot of his bed, where it remained for 3 days and nights until the funeral. The gesture would have been remarkable in a lover, but for an elderly husband who had for years been on bad terms with his wife, it seems almost monstrously unconventional until you realise that he was thinking of his situation quite differently. He had become a lover in mourning. "One forgets all the recent years and differences," he wrote to a friend, "and the mind goes back to the early times, when each was much to the other, in her case and mine, intensely much." The dry old man was in flower as a poet, those were his own words, and he wrote more poems than he had ever done before in the same space of time. They are among the most original elegies ever written, in feeling and in the handling of language and verse forms. They are both conversational and lyrical. In them he speaks to her, he gives her a voice, he conjures her up. Sometimes she appears as a ghost, sometimes as the elderly woman who liked parties and hats, more often as the girl of long ago, wearing an air-blue gown, or with her bright hair flapping free. And he recalls how she seemed to him once a sublime, almost Homeric woman, fair-eyed and white-shouldered, broad-browed and brown-tressed. He relives a moment when he walked with her on a rainy road, and they exchanged the words that changed their lives, calling up her image and then letting it go.
I look and see it there, shrinking, shrinking. I look back at it amid the rain for the very last time, for my sand is sinking, and I shall traverse old love's domain, never again.
At the same time, he knows that she is past love, praise, indifference, blame. He needs to speak to her and see her, although he knows he cannot. The poetry allows him to. It keeps him balanced between the possible and the impossible, as the bereaved need to be, so that he can sorrow and then rejoice, and then admit that the rejoicing cannot change how things are now. He was seeing her again in the place where he first knew her, the remote coast of North Cornwall, where the untamed landscape and the young woman on horseback with her hair blowing behind her had seemed almost exotic to him. Away from Cornwall, her exoticism faded, and after they were married they never returned there, for which Hardy blamed himself. More than anything, though,